All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride, you've got nothing to lose. Today we've got a very, very special episode, so I'm just going to shut up. Let's get straight to the fun. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, and today I'm joined by Ken and Lonnie, and also a founding member of KISS, Peter Criss. Peter, thank you very much for joining us to talk about your new album today.
Oh, it's my honor, Julian. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited, and thank you for having doing this with me. You know, I love you. You've been in my home, so
Yeah, I'm very honored for you to, come on this show. I have obviously been in your home when we made the announcement together that you were going to be releasing an album in the autumn, and you kept your word and released an album in the autumn. You've just celebrated Christmas, which I believe is your favorite time of year, and more impressively, turned 80. How are you feeling about turning 80 and having Christmas, and now you're podcasting?
my brain thinks I'm still 16. I really believe that. You know, I'm still wearing cowboy pajamas and watching old movies, but the body has changed. And my dad used to say I should pick up a trumpet. I think he was right. Uh, but otherwise, God's been good to me. It's been a great year. The Kennedy Center and a brand new album, and I had a great time doing it and doing this. It's been no complaints.
That's awesome. I mean, again, we're so honored to have you here. I don't want to do a lot of talking. I want to get into, doing some questions with you about this album and having the other guys ask you some questions as well. So why don't we get going? And you promised the fans a rock record. Did you feel pressure to deliver on that promise?
I did. I absolutely did. Because I don't break my word. I grew up. My word is my bond, and to all the years that I would do the meet and greets, I would say to them, I'm going to do a rock album. I'm going to do a rock album, and finally, here it is. And I felt pressured, I'm now really excited that I did it. I kept my word. I'm hoping they love it. I put a lot of love and a lot of feeling to it. I had a great time doing it. And so, yeah, it was pressure, but it's okay. It was good pressure.
Yeah, and you certainly fulfilled it, and the reaction I think has been very positive to a Peter Criss rock record. Lonnie, why don't you ask Peter one of your questions?
So, Peter, how much fun was it singing these new songs for your album?
Oh, I had a ball. You could hear it on the record. You could hear me cracking up half the times. It was so much fun. I've never had more fun doing an album in my whole life. It was so exciting because you know, wrote all the words, wrote the lyrics, and arranged it, and put a lot of my heart into it. So I felt it's a magic, man. Great. It was great. It was great. It was great. Great singing.
One of the things I remember is your laugh on Creepy Crawlers, which you put out as a single. That is one of the craziest laughs I've ever heard. And that's going to be on people's ringtones at some point, right? When their phone rings, it's going to be you laughing.
I kind of did that song in the dark in my studio. I kind of turned the lights out and did it. I really wish, and I miss Ace dearly. I would have loved to have recorded his laugh because he had this infectious laugh that when he laughed, everyone laughs. But it just happened when I was singing the song, doing it in my studio. I cracked myself up and I left it there. And then when I listened to it back, I was still laughing, and I had my wife come down and she started laughing, and everybody that I played for gets a kick out of it. I think it was a good thing I left the laughter in.
Yeah, it's a great laugh. Ken, why don't we go to one of your questions for Peter?
Yeah, hey Peter. Just one of the things on that laugh, it reminded me of the Cesar Romero from the Batman, the 66 series. The laugh was so great. It was just great. I enjoyed it.
Cesar Romero. Wow, there's a name out of the past.
Yeah, there's the one. Right. One of my questions is, a number of tracks you had background singers on a number of tracks, and I don't think you've done that a lot in the past. But what was your, why did you decide to, uh, you know, bring them in for some of the songs?
In my early career, I did nothing but Motown
Oh,
music. I did nothing but soul. I had a band called Sounds of Soul, and we did nothing but Wilson Pickett and James Brown. And
mm,
back then, in that era, the '60s, '70s, you had backup singers. And when I did my solo album, Vinnie Ponce brought in some backup singers, and it really brought me back to
oh,
that era when you had backup singers. And when you have backup singers, you just get into it. There's something about backup singers that make you even want to sing better. And I wanted to bring him in. I wanted to go back to the '70s. I wanted to have backup singers again. I don't hear that much today on the new stuff going out there. I
hmm
don't hear backups. And we had a ball, and they had a ball. It was like everybody had a good time, and that's what it's about in the studio, is having a good time.
How did you find Kat Manning? She's one of your singers along with Dennis and Sharon Collins. How did you find Kat?
I had these two great backup singers, and then Gigi was listening, and she found her online, and she sounded just like Janis Joplin, who I got the
mm,
honor to see back in the great days. And I was looking for that edge, that really grunge, that cut, because the two singers I had were really refined. They were like really refined backup singers. They really had their craft down. But I wanted that cut, that really edge cut. And so we actually went and auditioned her because she was playing a little lounge, and but she was doing cover songs that were kind of not the Janis Joplin stuff. So we were sitting there, and Gigi went up to her and said, "Would you sing Bobby McGee?" And she sang it, and it blew me away. And I went, "Now that's the edge. That's what I'm looking for." So she fit in like a glove. She just added to the two other backup singers and gave me the edge I wanted. She was dynamite. Great singer.
Yeah, Dennis and Sharon are fantastic as well. You met them
hmm
at the cutting room, didn't you?
Yes, they did, and that's why I got them, because I had a good time with them when I performed at the Cutting Room, and they were getting actually ready. They told me for a Bruce Springsteen album, so I thought, and they had great credits, and I love the way Sharon sings. Wow, could she sing? You could really feature. I got her on one of the songs, which she really, I think, it's For the Money. She really blasts out there. So it was great, but adding her to the mix just was like magic. It was really what I was looking for. So Kat was great, and it's funny she had my name.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
That's
The
yeah,
even in Kiss, you guys use backing vocalists on Destroyer and Rock and
yeah.
Roll Over. There was always that very rock and roll element. So it was nice for you to bring that onto this rock record because it really adds to it. Ken, you're going to ask Peter about one of my favorite songs.
Well, yeah, it's one of my favorite songs too, and it's "Walking on Water," which really stands out as an excellent song. And it seems to me, very spiritual type song. Um, how important is "Walking on Water" to you?
Very important. I had cancer, breast cancer,
Hmm.
a while back, and I prayed. I'm a very religious guy, so I really prayed very, very hard. I was at church probably more than the pastor, and I really prayed hard, and God gave me my miracle, and I felt, and I kid you not, that I really could walk on water.
Hmm.
Like if you ever watched that Being There movie with Chauncey Gardner, and at the end he walks on water, and you realize he's an angel. I love that movie, and I felt like that. I felt like I could walk on the ocean, and I was such a high. I was so elated that I was cured, and so I wanted to write a religious song, and I wanted to write about the experience that I was feeling inside, because I always sing from the heart. I'm not. Everything comes from my heart, and that's where it's one of my favorite songs. Thank you. I'm glad you brought it up, because "Walking on Water" is special. I think Paul Schaefer played an amazing
Mhm.
organ on it. The whole band was just dynamite, but the vocals were very, yeah. It's near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite songs on the album.
you've got a bunch of different styles of music that you're exploring on this album, which makes it so engaging. I get to talk to you now about drumming because the drums on this album sound absolutely amazing. I was very impressed by how they sound, especially on the LP when we play that. They were recorded a while ago, weren't they?
They were done in 208, the drum tracks.
Hmm.
And I was impressed with them myself. When I listened to them back, and I went, wow, these are really some amazing drum tracks. And so the music was written around the drums, which was really cool. So we just kind of wrote everything around the beat and the feel of the music, especially with Walking on Water with the waltz time. And so, yeah, the drums are done in 208.
Lonnie, your next question for Peter.
As a fan, I'm so happy to get this album from you. What was your main goal in releasing this album?
Again, for the fans, always for the fans. I wouldn't be on talking to you right now. I wouldn't have the life. My favorite movie, It's a Wonderful Life. My life is, I mean, look I'm a kid from Brooklyn in the streets. I grew up in 4 rooms with 7 people. I have been so blessed. What a year for me, turning 80, getting the Kennedy Award, having a new album. So it's, I don't know what to say. I'm on such a high now that it's out there, and I'm talking to you guys, and you're actually all digging it. And I kept my word, and that's what was the most important thing to me in life, is keeping my word. I will not break my word for nobody, and when I say it, I keep it. It's one thing about me. I grew up as in the streets, and you keep your word. I did pretty much, I think, a variety of music that I grew up on, that I grew up through the years, that I admired from other bands that I always loved a lot, whether it be the Eagles or Van Morrison, whatever. And I wanted to do an album that had a variation of all different kinds of songs, not just one pretty much Kiss album where we're on that same road right through the whole beginning till the end, like Destroyer or whatever album we do. We stay on the track. I didn't stay on. I went out of the box with Barry. One great thing about him as a producer, he was willing to go anywhere out of the box. If I came up with, I want to sing the song upside down. I want to add. He was, yeah, let's do that. It was like no rules. And I think you hear that in all the songs. There is a difference of each song. There is a variety. And I felt, well, who's ever listening to this going to pick one song at least, hopefully, that they go, yeah, I really dig that song the most. And I think there's quite a variety, and I like the variety. Even in my earlier career on whatever it was, Let Me Rock You or Out of Control, that wasn't as much a variety as this album has. I pretty much think this is the best album I've ever done. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know.
Well, I hope you're biased because your new album should always be your best album, right? The one
Yes.
that you're promoting. You're not looking backwards. But what does younger you think of Peter Criss coming up to 80 years old, releasing an album? Did you ever think you'd be releasing another album?
No. Yeah, no. When I went down the studio one day and I listened to the tracks, and I went, I need to finish this. And already now I'm in my 70s, and I started singing along with it and started arranging it and started adding stuff to it and rearranging it and putting on all the lyrics were just done now this year. They're all brand new lyrics. All the vocals were done now in this time, so they were the older vocals. And I'll never stop, man. I ain't stopping till they put me in the box. I'm gonna keep on going till I'm never. Music is a gift from God. I am so blessed that I'm talking to you guys and talking about my writing and my composing and my feeling about music. That my mom used to say, wasted talent is a bad thing, and I grew up with that always in my ear. And I got a gift from the Lord, and I'm gonna just keep going until I can't. And that's the way look, I'm gonna go. If I get to live to 180, then I'm gonna feel still singing and playing them drums at 180. I'm never gonna stop.
And I'm really happy that that you're still feeling such creativity. what really surprises me is, again, the variety. Do you have a song that's your favorite on this album that you're particularly proud of, when we look at it?
Well, definitely Walking on Water again, because that meant so much to me about beating cancer, because I'm a big cancer guy. Every year I go out in October and I raise money for men for breast cancer. Uh, but I'm actually really crazy about For the Money. That's one of my favorite songs. I like In the Dark. I kind of like them. I was down there today listening. I kind of like them all. I mean, all of them. But I like For the Money, and I like In the Dark. Uh, and I get and I kind of like rocking and roll. I think that's a really good old time Jerry Lee Lewis kind of feel that I brought back. So those three songs really kind of get me.
Well, that's a great makes for a very good opening track as well, because a lot of the elements in rock and roll kind of hark back to the first Kiss album with your shout outs, the Catman. I love those little attention to detail throughout this album. There's a lot of little elements, and we're not going to talk about them because we don't want to ruin them for people who've yet to hear the album. But it seems to have been a real labor of passion for you, and that comes across. Ken, why don't you tell Peter your favorite song on the album and why it's your favorite?
Yeah.
I think I did earlier. Well, when I asked the question, "Walking on the Water" is one of my favorites because of, just the it kind of builds, and you can feel that uh, your feelings in that song when you sing it. The walking on water and being with the angels and all of that. Otherwise, I like a lot of songs on this album. I really do. Like even the rock and roll. I love that. I love the old style rock and roll myself, and I think it just fits in right with all that stuff. The early '60s, late '50s. I just love that kind of stuff. So I think you knocked it out of the park on this album, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think again, you don't hear stuff like that anymore. I mean, I like to listen to all the new stuff, and it was fun to go back because I was a big Jerry Lee Lewis fan and Chuck Berry fan and stuff like that. And it was just nice to go back to my roots on all the songs. There's a lot of innuendos. Obviously, you guys know that about Kiss.
Yeah.
There's little words in there that I throw in from certain popular songs the band had. And I knew that the fans would love that. I gave them little tidbits
Mhm.
of which I guess I can't tell you because they got to listen to the album. And so it was fun throwing those lyrics in because I knew immediately how the fans depict everything that we do. They're so fanatical, and so I said they're going to get a big kick out of this, throwing those little lyrics I threw in here or there.
Mhm.
So that was fun.
Lonnie, how about you? You want to tell Peter your favorite song?
Yeah, to me, Peter, the song Sugar seems so genuine to me. And your love for Gigi really comes across in that
Oh,
song.
thank you.
It's my favorite song on the album because I can relate. And like every day, I'm thankful for my wife, just as I'm sure you are as well.
I love to hear that. I got sugar when we would play the South. It's a big word down south. Is everything? Give me some sugar. You watch the
Mhm.
Andy Griffith show. Give me some sugar. Yeah, and it stuck in my head, sugar for some reason. And so when I wrote it, I'm glad you dig it. Actually, Julian, when I first played for him, he said I really dig this song. I was thinking this is probably the worst song I got on the album because it's so. But I love it also, and you're absolutely right. It's how I feel about my wife, that I am blessed to have 30 years with Gigi. She was a big part of pushing me through this stuff at times there was times I don't know about it, and I'd come up from the studio and she'd go get back down there and get on that. And so Sugar I think Paul Schaefer did an amazing job on keyboard on it. It reminds me somewhat old school, but then it has a little blues to it. So I'm glad
Mhm.
you like it. It's got to grow on me. And the guitar on it, I think some of the guitar playing on it is just
Mhm.
Michael McLaughlin just did some great stuff on that song. on the whole album, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, all the players on your album, everyone's helped you realize your art. I mean, obviously we've talked about Sugar, and you know, In the Dark is at the moment my favorite song on the album because it just has that vibe. It is just it's sensuous, and it really shows off your bass player, Billy Sheehan, on the album,
Um,
and your singing and your drums all come together as the full package on In the Dark. What a great song. That's just
you,
absolutely incredible art.
I agree with you. And having Billy, by the way, is an honor. He is one hell of a bass player. I never thought I could get him to play. And when I called him, he was like, "It'll be an honor to be on your album. Just send me the drum tracks. I don't want to hear any guitars. I don't want to hear any vocals. I just want to hear the drums, man." And we became really good friends. Now we talk to each other. He did an amazing. His solo on that is brilliant. I think that whole solo he takes, I had to give it to him. But his whole playing, and he mentioned to me when I called him, he says, "You know what, man? I'm going to put my whole heart and soul into this album because you deserve it. You deserve a hit album, Peter Criss. You've been the underdog for too many years, and I love your drumming. I love the way you play drums. I love your singing. I'm gonna give you my best of my best. And if you don't think it is, and you're out of your mind, because the bass on that album is absolutely, I consider a 10 all the way. Man, could he play.
Absolutely stunning playing all around. I can't imagine, people not being impressed by the album that you've, delivered to us this year. A question for you: do you have a favorite song on this album, Peter? Is there one that sticks in your mind at the moment? And obviously, they're all very close to you.
I like For the Money because I think money is the root of all evil. And I always wanted to write something about that because the world is in a crazy place, and I just see that a lot of people are so driven by it, and it could be so. It's such an look. It's nice to have money. We all need money. We all got to eat and live, but there comes a time where that's not the most important thing in life. I believe God is, and my wife, and my music in that order. And money. There's a lot of if you listen to the words how I take things down from terrorism to it can't take your sickness. It's true. A lot of it I got. I watch the news every morning. I hear things. When I write, I get feelings from stuff. If I hear something very sad about something, I'll take it to heart and I'll think about it. And sometimes the music comes. Sometimes the lyrics. I'll get my little lyric pad out. And I think For the Money is really poignant. I think it says a lot about the downfalls of money.
Hmm.
And I've seen a lot of guys, and I know a lot of guys. I've seen them fall from grace over money, and
Yep.
that's not what life's about, guys. It's just not for me, anyway.
No, but you do put a nice doo-wop chorus in there as well. That's almost back to kids on the in the project singing on the corners in the 50s. It has a lot of throwback vibes in that. There's so many different things on this album that everyone's going to take in a different way, from their own musical reference points. In addition to you as the creative force behind it. My final question is just: do you have a message for your fans?
I really hope you like the album. I really hope you dig it, man. I kept my word. Uh, I just really hope you play it a lot and wear it out and buy another one. And I don't mean for the money. I just really hope, I put a lot of my heart and soul into it. And I really think it shows, and I think you could feel it. You could really feel Peter Criss again uh, from my earlier stuff, even more so. And I just, I'm not, I guess like Stallone sort of says, I'm not looking for the win. I just want to go the distance. Uh, I just want people to take it to heart and go, I can't play this enough.
Absolutely. And you've gone the distance with the KissFAQ podcast crew. And I do want to thank you for your time today. Everyone who wants to find information about the album and about you can find it on petercriss.net. Thank you so much for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you so much for having me. It was pretty cool. I got to do more of these.
All right. Thank you, Peter. God bless.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you. God bless you guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Have a good New Year.
Oh, hey, you're still here, watching or listening. Why don't you hit that subscribe button or click the like one? And if you want even more, click on the join button on YouTube. Thanks for your support. All right, so that was Peter Criss joining the KissFAQ podcast for his very first podcast experience. Guys, was that as good for you as it was for me, Ken?
Yeah, no, it was great. I think it was great having a little chat with Peter and learning a little bit about his feeling of the album, recording a new music, new music and the songs that are on there. I think it went really, really well. I enjoyed it.
I'm still blown away that in 2025,
Yeah,
we've got a new album from Peter Criss. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I've been over the moon about this, for a while because I'm really digging the music. One of the things I've mentioned is I dug out my record player yesterday and I never spin vinyl. And I put Peter's album on there to listen to the analog, version, that was mastered specifically for vinyl.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten to talk to Peter directly about the album again. And it's such an exciting time after, a painful year with the loss of Ace to now have this celebration of new music. Lonnie, I think you made a connection with Peter today.
I did. He appreciated what I asked him about, or what that I like sugar the best, and I think he obviously really appreciated that. I think he after we stopped recording, he like thanked me again even for bringing that up. I thought that was really, really nice.
Yeah, so Peter clearly thinks that Lonnie is the voice of reason on the KissFAQ podcast. You're going to have to hand in your badge now, Ken, because you've been dethroned and defrocked from your voice of reason title by a founding member of KISS.
That's okay. I'm all right with that.
So we got to go over quite a few songs with Peter, which was really cool. Just for my sake, because I couldn't keep track of trying to host a show, think about the questions and keeping things moving. Your favorites on the album, because you asked him about Walking on Water.
Uh-huh.
But what are your three kind of favorite songs, after you got the album Last of Us, I think.
I think I did. Yeah. I finally got here. I guess my three, I mean, most of the songs are pretty darn good on this. I really enjoy listening it all the way through. I don't skip anything. So I'm just going to go for probably rock and roll. I really enjoy that. In the Dark is another one. Walking on Water. And if I'm going to throw in, I'll throw in a fourth just to throw it in.
A tie.
Creepy Crawlers. I really like that one.
Yeah, and it's all a tie. All 11 songs on the CD are 10 for me. It's really tough, but I did connect with In the Dark, and you heard the original title of that song, which isn't in the lyrics, but In the Dark, just to me, there's something about that, and it may be that my first ever rock concert was David Lee Roth with Billy Sheehan. And, he was given a similar sort of freedom to play the sort of bass that he wanted at that time. So that one really connected me. It's like a perfect combination. Billy Sheehan, a monster on bass, Peter Criss, a fantastic drummer and singing, and also delivering a song with a vibe that I never thought I would hear from Peter Criss. Again, he's gone outside my boxes of what I expect from Peter. Walking on Water, I love. I love the spirituality of what he's expressing there, and the way that he's expressing it. It's a song that's got a lot of different kind of feels to it, with that waltz that I mentioned as well. I almost have to do a tie because it's so for the money, the background vocals, and Peter's storytelling. Again, I can go through all of these songs because again, I'm really getting a kick out of the whole album. But Rubbernecking, that's a standout because it is so different. And we were talking, before we, did the recording with Peter about that, and let's see if I get it right. The Jerry Reed kind of style to it really stands out. That if he puts that on a T-shirt, are you going to buy that? I will.
I would
totally buy that.
That's a great, image there. So
hell yeah,
put it out, Peter. Put it out.
Did I get everyone's favorites?
No, you need
yours?
Lonnie's favorites.
Lonnie, your favorites.
You didn't ask me, but I like. I'm with Kendall. I like rock.
I am now.
Rock and roll. It's
Oh,
a great
yes.
way. It's hard to say. It's a great way to start off the album. It hooks you right away. I like that. I obviously like Sugar, and I'm gonna agree with you guys about In the Dark though too. I mean, the first time I heard it, I wasn't sure, but I go back and listen to it now. I'm like, oh, that's really good. So, but again though too, I mean, I don't know if there's really I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a homer, but there's really not bad songs. There's not bad songs on here, really. It's really good from start to finish. I really don't skip anything.
Yeah. Peter seemed really to take to podcasting like a fish to water. He seemed to be very natural in front of the camera, which I must say, I wasn't expecting Peter to be that relaxed, but he really seemed to get into it. So I'm now a little worried that we've unleashed a beast. I hope the Podcast Rock City guys were able to constrain Peter when they do their recording with him. How did Peter seem to you? When's the last time you saw Peter in person?
Ooh, well, I saw Peter when we went to the LA Kiss convention. How many years ago was that? 10 or more?
Was that 2017?
It might have been. Yeah, you're probably right. So it's been a while. So that was a long time ago. But yeah, it was nice seeing Peter, and he was very, very upbeat and happy and positive about doing, not quitting. He's going to keep doing what he enjoys, which is the music and playing drums, which is like, wow, I'm happy. I thought, oh, this might be it, and he might just retire, but I think he's gonna continue and doing some music, whether that comes as an album or not in the future, another one. Who knows? If we're lucky, we'll get one.
Yeah, hold that thought about a future Peter Criss album, because I want to come back to that in a minute after Lonnie's had his has his go at that. How did you find Peter? You seem to build a very easy rapport with him. When was the last time you saw Peter? When he signed your leg?
When he signed my leg, it was in 2012, in November of 2012 in Chicago. That's the only time I've ever met him. So, I mean, I was excited to do this, and he really came across very genuine, and much more relaxed than I thought he would, like you mentioned, Julian. He was great. He really was.
Yeah, that is the Peter that I've been lucky to spend time with. That he is sincere, humble, gracious, and I think that really did come across. That really is Peter Criss. And to anyone who went to the signing at Rockefeller, was it Rockefeller Center or Rough Trade?
Rough Trade, yeah. Records.
Yeah. Again, he seemed to have that demeanor with everyone, coming through the line. And when I sat next to him in Charlotte at Mad Monster, again, that was the same Peter. So again, I'm just beyond words to finally get to have Peter as a guest on this show. Ken, you mentioned about if we're lucky enough to get future albums, or what would you like from Peter? What more do you want from the cat?
I know more. Continue. Right? I mean, the rock stuff was good, and the rock stuff is good. And yeah, he can throw a couple of ballads in there too, just like he did on maybe his first couple of solo albums. So I'm perfectly, it's perfectly fine, whatever he wants to do. and whatever makes him happy. So yeah, this was a great one. It could end on this one. I'd be happy, but if he feels inspiration and writes some more good new music, then I'm all for it.
Lonnie, what about you? What would you like from Peter musically if if he was to do further explorations?
I'd like more in this vein of what he did. The album's just has the album fits together well, but it has some different feels to it in different areas, but it all ties together well. I mean, I'll take what I can get from him. If Peter wants to release anything else, I would consider us blessed to be able to get anything else from him, and I think the Kiss Army would go and buy it, just like we're buying this.
Yeah, I want to enjoy this one for a while. Again, we've had a lot of Kiss related music this year, but this was icing on the cake. This was a Christmas present for me. So I'm just going to keep enjoying this one for now. We're going to do a full breakdown episode review for this album. But I think that's enough of an episode. That is Peter Criss talking about his 2025 album. So don't forget, there's also a podcast episode coming up with Podcast Rock City. And we have to say it, the #1 podcast in the world. Because like Spartacus, we're all #1 in our own minds. All right, that's it for now. So from Ken, from Lonnie, Peter Criss, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. The KissFAQ would like to thank Peter Criss for giving us his time today, but would also like to thank Joey Casada for helping facilitate the recording of this episode. Don't forget to check out that Podcast Rock City episode. And if you haven't already, head over to petercriss.net to pick up Peter Criss's new rock and roll record. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.